7 o'clock on the dot, I need a crack rock on the spot.
Hi, my name is Akeem, and I am the founder, chairman, CEO, president, vice president, and the dean of Ran-DomU University. We offer a vast variety of courses, everything from psychology of the fake alpha male to cringe studies to pause 101. Now, if you're interested in joining this university, please call or text the number on the screen at 1555 Ran-DomU. Are you ready? Now hear me out. I promise I was not lying to you the other day when I was ranting and going on a tirade talking about I am sick and tired of talking about these cheap cologne wearing zesty ass super duper wannabe alpha males. Like I was not lying to you. I promise. But we got to talk about Myron. Again! I was stranded in the woods mentally. I was lost. I was confused. I was cold mentally. I couldn't come up with any ideas. I couldn't think of any material on these douches. I couldn't come up with anything. I was running dry. But I found some flint, and also I found some sticks, and I found a way to find a spark. And in that spark came a fire. And now I'm back and I'm ready to go. And I'm ready to dive into this today because Myron, boy, he got into something that was very interesting the other day. Myron still hasn't learned from his billionaire pimp that paid speech isn't free speech. In case you weren't aware, Myron was trying to take a trip over to the UK. Yeah, I believe he was trying to take a trip over to London. Now, I say it that way because no one should really care about where he's going unless it's going to be the town that you're staying in currently. But his recent attempt at adventure was foiled because he realized that if he actually decided to make that trip, he could be arrested on sight for his past behavior on Twitter and on other platforms. Yeah, those words are really coming back to bite him in the ass. Now, I know some of you Myron me huggers are out there sitting around, smoking a bowl, sitting in traffic thinking, oh, that's cap. There's no way. Absolute bullshit. He can't be arrested for that. There's no way. Well, yeah, there is way. Yes, way. Safe way. Apparently, it was such a threat, he decided he needed to cancel his trip altogether. Cancel the flights, bookings, everything that he had. If he had hotels lined up, nope. Airbnb, nope, none of that. He decided that trip was no mas.
Might do that, but it's probably unlikely. The problem is when you try to go into other countries and you are already known as a person that is a misogynist, you are a person that is hateful. And this is what happened to Myron because he was supposed to go to the UK. He's been there before. And when he was there in the UK, he was very disrespectful. On podcasts, he was talking trash to many of the women there. And of course, the powers that be, once you want to get as big as he does and go viral, they understand that. Then this guy, Dom Lucree, he posed prominent, fresh, and fit host Myron had to cancel his trip to the United Kingdom after he found out he could be arrested upon arrival, I guess, for his tweets in the United States. Now, look at James Buckley. He says this, I can't believe this is happening in a Western democracy. Rent-free American says this is why America needs to rethink its allies. How can we be aligned with nations that do not align with our core values? Freedom of speech is number one on the list if you're not paying attention. AKA says, good call. I won't even land in the UK via layaway at this point. Myron says this, the UK is a failed nation. Idiots showed up in red coats in 1776 and got their behinds whooped. Now they are mad at me. And we can call it what we want. You can say what we want. But here is the issue. The United Kingdom does not want somebody like Myron coming into its nation and doing what they will call some level of influence or an insurrection of toxicity amongst their citizens.
So yeah, there are consequences for talking shit sometimes. Yes, it is possible to be arrested for tweets in the UK if they violate certain laws, such as those related to communications, threats, or hate speech. For example, sending offensive or menacing messages. I think I've heard Myron do that a few times for absolutely no reason to some random chicks on Twitter, or using social media to harass or intimidate others could lead to arrest. Oh dang, He's definitely done these things. But anyway, more details. Communications Act 2003. This act criminalizes sending false messages, offensive messages, or using electronic communications to cause annoyance or anxiety. Public Order Act 1986. This act, along with amendments, deals with hate speech and makes it an offense to use threatening, abusive, or insulting words that could cause alarm or distress. Hate speech laws. These laws, often found in the Public Order Act and related legislation, criminalize inciting racial or religious hatred or using threatening words to incite violence. Harassment and abuse. Using social media to harass, bully, or intimidate individuals can also lead to legal consequences. Jesus, I think he knows he is very much an offender of all of this. Just a few vague examples. A Newcastle man was sentenced to jail for posting offensive tweets. People have been arrested for sending racist abuse to athletes on social media. In the past, there have been cases where individuals were arrested and charged for social media posts related to riots. Now, I just wanted to mostly read about the Online Safety Act of 2023. This act places new duties on social media companies to ensure the safety of their users, including addressing harmful content. It also aims to protect children online and address the spread of illegal content. Important considerations. The police and law enforcement agencies have the authority to investigate and arrest individuals for social media posts that violate the law. The specific laws and regulations may vary depending on the nature of the post and specific context. While the UK has freedom of expression, the freedom is not absolute and is subject to certain restrictions.
Look, so freedom of speech is still a thing over there. They just said to themselves that we don't want this shit.
Yeah, it does, Amy Ben, but state and city leaders found the right words, speaking out to condemn the march. We're constantly getting new videos showing this group of Nazis walking down Broadway waving swastika flags. At one point, they made their way here to outside of the Capitol. We heard from Representative Justin Jones's office, who says this is a group known as the Blood Tribe. The neo-Nazi group has done this in several other cities as well, marching the streets in red sweaters, protesting everything from LGBTQ rights to the war in Israel. Jones was at an event downtown when he saw them, pulled out his phone, and started recording.
That's right down the street from where I, Courtney Michelle, Amir Odom, Brett Cooper, and a whole bunch of other known and famous creators and people live here in Nashville. Excluding me from the known and famous people, but don't worry, I'll be there soon.
Now we know what these people are all about, the extermination of particular groups of people, especially the little hat community. Those people really strike a nerve. Because we all know these wannabe alpha male extremist groups are nothing more than a bunch of pussies crying victim, living and swimming in a sea of hypocrisies. They hate when blacks protest anything, but all you see is them kicking and screaming in the street with a bunch of megaphones, screaming to the heavens that they're victims and that they're oppressed, acting like a bunch of Karens that can't get a refund at Walmart. And you know what, side note on the Karens, actually in real life, I don't know any bad Karens. They get a really bad stereotype that's plastered out here on the internet, but every Karen that I've ever met has been one of the most kind, loving, and wonderful human beings that I've ever met in my entire life. Even Lindas get a bad rap too, and I've met nothing but good Lindas. I really don't understand how these things keep, coming about, but unfortunately, we're keeping the Karen label for today. They complain about women bitching about the patriarchy and wanting to be in the military and wanting to do some manly things, right? They get really upset and in a tussy about that one. But they are literally the opposite side of that, where I don't see a whole bunch of them signing up to be up in the military, and they seem to be always complaining about women having more power than men. They want to bring back masculinity, but they act like Angelica from the Rugrats. Bully people to get what you want, and when that doesn't work, then cry crocodile tears and say everyone in the world is being mean to them. So ironically, their best comp is a 3-year-old little girl. Just like Myron, every time this man mentions masculinity, all I can think about is his weak-ass meltdowns.
You motherfuckers weren't there when this lied and said that I got her pregnant when I fucking did it. And then you dumbasses, 3 years later, believe some that makes the same allegations again. You fucking idiots.
Nope, that's not manly. I love this country, but I don't believe allowing these types of people to just harass and terrorize innocent people in the streets like their vitality is a very good thing. But seriously, these radicals are nothing more than IRL streamers without cameras. Both them and IRL streamers are consistently fighting for the gold in the victimhood Olympics, and it's because they use the same tactics. As soon as you press one of these IRL streamers, the first thing they scream is, "It's a prank," or "I'm just a kid," while Myron and his role models would scream, "It's free speech," like they were blowing it out of a rape whistle. All the victim shit. So much irony that even if it was turned into pennies, I would still have more money than the autistic messiah David Koresh superhero Elon Musk has. Freddy Krueger must be Jewish, because I'm convinced that any group of people to be so hung up on a specific demographic of individuals, they have to be haunting them in their sleep. Like, I'm pretty convinced Freddy's last name was Krugerwitz instead of Krueger, and he had a bar mitzvah before he was banished to the Shadow Realm / hell. I compared Myron to the wrong character earlier when I said he was like Angelica. He's actually Chucky, and definitely not the doll.
He wants people to be scared of him and afraid of him like he's Charles Lee Ray. But he's Chucky Finster. Just like Chucky, I'm guessing there's no mom in play for reals because of how much he hates women. But the most obvious reason he's like him is because he's a pussy and he's scared of everything. Now there's an exception for Chucky because, well, he's 2 years old. Myron's my age. He's scared of the Jews because they run the world. He's scared of blacks because we're violent psychopaths. And I know he couldn't have watched the movie Alien because the face huggers are basically rabid vaginas. And we all know how he feels about cooters. It's why he's almost 40 and he's never had a girlfriend before. Angie doesn't count because she likes carpet almost as much as he likes swiping on Grindr. I think that's why he hates Ruby Rose so much, because she can get all the high value men that he desires deep down. His throat.
I beg your pardon?
Maybe I should give him a pass and ease off this guy, with all the insults, because he does have a lot of insecurities. I made the reference a million times about him removing the mirrors from his apartment because he can't stand to look at himself. I can't imagine having this much self-hate. The man, for one, hates himself and his people so much that he won't even acknowledge his real name. He hates being brown so bad, I'm shocked he hasn't tried skin bleaching. Nigga! I'm not calling him black, even if he does have African in him. He's a free agent, we do not claim him. If he wasn't so conservative, I'm positive he would have invested his money into transracial surgery. He's an alpha male dating coach who teaches men how to get women, but he's a closeted homosexual. To have this many contradictions in your life, there has to be some form of trauma. If he didn't hate women so much, I figured he could have some really great trauma bonds with those psychologically damaged hoes he be kicking up off of the podcast all the time. All these fears, all these secrets, all these insecurities is what causes him to spaz out on Twitter all the time and crash out with all this hate speech and all these hate wardrobes, offering to suck off white supremacists also he can just attend some online Klan meetings, which circle jerks him all the way back to what we were talking about in the beginning. Pause. Him canceling his trip to the UK because he's aware of how many skeletons he's trapped in the closet with, and he didn't want to be arrested the second he decided to step out. Eventually, Mr. Fuddle is going to end up just like Kanye. He's not too far, but
like gravity, all it takes is a little push.